Buddhist insights. The distinction between rebirth and reincarnation. Imagine a tranquil morning. You're sitting by the river, observing the gentle flow of water. You notice something intriguing. The water today is not the same as the water yesterday, yet the river itself remains. This image offers us a powerful metaphor as we embark on a journey to explore the difference between rebirth and reincarnation. Have you ever asked yourself these questions? What happens after we leave this life? Does something of us continue to exist? If so, where does it go? These questions have intrigued humanity for countless generations. However, in Buddhism, the way we approach these profound mysteries is fundamentally different from the perspectives of other religions or philosophical traditions. In today's video, we'll embark on a thought-provoking exploration to answer these key questions. 1. What does rebirth truly mean from the perspective of Buddhism? 2. Why is rebirth profoundly different from the concept of reincarnation commonly portrayed in popular culture? 3. How can understanding the concept of rebirth transform the way you see life and approach its challenges? In many religious traditions and cultural beliefs, reincarnation is understood as the migration of a soul from one physical body to another. This idea assumes the existence of a permanent, unchanging self, a soul, that survives physical death. However, Buddhism takes an entirely different approach. It teaches that there is no fixed self, no enduring soul that transitions from life to life. Instead, rebirth is seen as a process governed by dependent origination, a continuous flow of karmic energy and conditions. Let's use a simple analogy to illustrate this. Imagine lighting a candle, then using that flame to light a second candle. The flame has passed to the second candle, but is it the exact same flame? Or is it simply a continuation of energy? This analogy captures the essence of rebirth as explained by the Buddha. The flame isn't permanent, yet it flows seamlessly from one form to another. In the next section, we'll explore these concepts in greater depth, address common misunderstandings, and reveal how the Buddhist perspective on rebirth offers not only intellectual insight, but also practical guidance for leading a more peaceful and meaningful life. So, stay with me. What you're about to hear may challenge long-held beliefs and inspire a new way of looking at your existence. This could very well be the key to transforming your understanding of life and death and finding lasting peace in the present moment. Introduction, rebirth, and its profound insights. In the vast landscape of spiritual beliefs, few topics are as universally intriguing as what happens after death. Across cultures and religions, countless interpretations of life after death have emerged, each offering comfort, guidance, or insight into the human condition. Among these, the concepts of rebirth and reincarnation are frequently discussed, but also frequently misunderstood. Are they the same? What makes them distinct? And why does this distinction matter? Today, we embark on a fascinating journey to unravel these questions from the perspective of Buddhism. Prepare to explore an idea that not only deepens our understanding of life and death, but also invites us to live more mindfully, compassionately, and authentically. A tale of two flames, the Buddhist analogy. Let's begin with a simple yet profound analogy often used in Buddhist teachings to explain rebirth. Imagine you have a candle burning brightly. You take this flame and use it to light another candle. Now, a new flame burns, yet it is not the same as the original flame. At the same time, the new flame would not exist without the energy of the first. This analogy captures the essence of Buddhist rebirth. Unlike reincarnation, which suggests the soul, an eternal and unchanging essence, transmigrates from one body to another, rebirth in Buddhism is a continuation of conditions and causes. It's not about a self or soul being transferred. Rather, it's the flow of energy influenced by karma that carries on. But why is this distinction so significant? The answer lies in Buddhism's radical perspective on existence itself. The Buddhist view of no self, a radical philosophy. Central to Buddhist philosophy is the concept of anatta, or no self. According to this teaching, There is no permanent, unchanging soul or essence within us. Instead, what we call the self is a collection of 5 constantly changing components, known as the 5 aggregates, khandhas. 1. Form, rupa, the physical body and material world. 2. Feeling, vedana, sensations, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. 3. Perception, sana, recognition and interpretation of sensory experiences. 4. Mental formations, sankhara, thoughts, emotions, and habits. 5. Consciousness, vijnanam, awareness, or mind stream. These aggregates work together to create the illusion of a stable, independent self. But in truth, just as a river is not a static entity, but a continuous flow of water, what we perceive as I is a dynamic process, ever-changing and interconnected with the world around us. When viewed through this lens, the idea of reincarnation, a fixed soul moving from body to body, no longer aligns with reality as understood in Buddhism. Instead, rebirth arises naturally as part of the cycle of samsara, driven by karma and conditions. Rebirth as a continuum, not a transfer. To better grasp the concept of rebirth, let's compare it to another analogy, the relay race. Imagine a team of runners passing a baton from one person to the next. The baton moves forward, but the runners change. Similarly, the energy or momentum of our actions, karma, passes on, creating the conditions for the next life, even though no permanent runner exists. This distinction may feel abstract, but it carries profound implications for how we view life, death, and personal responsibility. Breaking the cycle of suffering, the role of karma. Karma, often misunderstood as fate or cosmic justice, simply means action. In Buddhism, karma refers to intentional actions, our thoughts, words, and deeds, and their consequences. Every action sets into motion a chain of causes and effects, influencing not only this life, but also the conditions of future existences. But karma is not a deterministic system. It's dynamic and ever-changing. Just as a gardener can nurture or neglect a garden, we shape our future through the seeds we plant today. This understanding empowers us to live mindfully, recognizing that our actions matter, not because they affect a fixed soul, but because they ripple through the interconnected web of existence. Addressing common misconceptions, you may be wondering, if there is no soul, what exactly is reborn? Or, if rebirth isn't about personal continuity, why should we care? These are valid questions, and addressing them helps illuminate the depth of Buddhist teachings. Rebirth versus reincarnation, understanding the key differences. To truly grasp the Buddhist concept of rebirth, it's essential to first understand how it contrasts with the more widely recognized notion of reincarnation. While these terms are often used interchangeably in everyday conversation, they represent profoundly different ideas, shaped by the philosophical and spiritual frameworks from which they emerge. What is reincarnation? In many spiritual traditions, reincarnation refers to the transmigration of a soul from one body to another after death. The soul is believed to be an eternal, unchanging essence, a core of identity that retains its individuality across lifetimes. For example, in Hinduism, the Atman soul is said to journey through cycles of birth, death, and rebirth, guided by karma, until it eventually merges with the divine. This perspective offers a comforting sense of continuity. The soul persists, learning lessons and gathering experiences through various lifetimes. This continuity reassures individuals that their essence will not be lost, but will carry on in a different form. The Buddhist perspective, no eternal self. Buddhism, however, presents a radically different understanding of existence. The foundation of Buddhist teachings lies in the concept of anatta, or no self. According to this doctrine, there is no permanent, unchanging soul or essence within any living being. Instead, what we think of as the self is a constantly shifting interplay of physical form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, collectively known as the 5 aggregates, khandhas. So, if there is no eternal self, what happens when we die? This is where the concept of rebirth comes into play. Rebirth in Buddhism is not about the transmigration of a soul, but the continuation of a process. It's a flow of energy driven by karma from one existence to another. Think of it as a ripple effect rather than the movement of a fixed object. To make this idea more relatable, let's return to the analogy of the candles. When the flame of one candle is used to light another, the second flame is not identical to the first. Yet, it would not exist without the energy of the first flame. In the same way, rebirth is a continuation influenced by causes and conditions, but there is no unchanging essence that passes through. Karma, the driving force of rebirth. In Buddhism, karma plays a pivotal role in the process of rebirth. Karma, often misunderstood as fate or cosmic punishment, simply refers to intentional actions and their consequences. Every thought, word, and deed creates ripples that shape the circumstances of our current life and future existences. But it's important to note that karma is not a deterministic system. It operates alongside countless other causes and conditions. For example, a person's past actions may create certain tendencies or situations, but their present choices and actions can alter those trajectories. This dynamic interplay emphasizes personal responsibility and the transformative power of mindfulness and ethical living. Breaking the cycle of samsara. Both reincarnation and rebirth describe cycles of existence, but their ultimate goals differ significantly. In traditions that emphasize reincarnation, the aim is often to purify the soul or fulfill a divine purpose until reaching liberation. In Buddhism, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is known as samsara, a realm of suffering fueled by ignorance, attachment, and aversion. The ultimate goal is not to perpetuate this cycle, but to transcend it entirely by attaining nirvana, a state of liberation and freedom from suffering. To put it simply, rebirth in Buddhism is not a reward or punishment. It's a natural process governed by causes and conditions, which continues as long as the underlying causes, desire, ignorance, and clinging, remain. When these causes are extinguished through wisdom and compassionate practice, the cycle ends. Common misconceptions about rebirth. At this point, you might still have questions or doubts about the Buddhist concept of rebirth. Let's address a few common misconceptions. 1. If there's no soul, what is reborn? This is a frequent question, and the answer lies in understanding continuity without identity. Think of a wave in the ocean. It arises, moves, and eventually subsides, yet it is never separate from the ocean itself. Similarly, what we perceive as ourselves is part of a larger flow of existence, shaped by karma and conditions. 2. Does rebirth mean we have no control over our lives? Not at all. While past actions influence present circumstances, the choices we make now are equally significant. In fact, understanding rebirth can empower us to live more intentionally, recognizing that our actions have far-reaching consequences. 3. If there's no reward or punishment, what motivates moral behavior? Buddhist ethics are grounded not in fear or desire for reward, but in compassion and wisdom. By living ethically and mindfully, we reduce suffering for ourselves and others, contributing to a more harmonious existence. Why does this matter? You might wonder, why is it important to understand the distinction between rebirth and reincarnation? Beyond intellectual curiosity, this understanding has profound implications for how we live our lives. When we embrace the idea of rebirth, we recognize that our lives are interconnected and our actions ripple far beyond our immediate experience. This realization encourages us to act with greater mindfulness and compassion, knowing that what we do today shapes not only our future, but the world around us. Moreover, the Buddhist perspective on rebirth invites us to let go of the fear of death and the attachment to a fixed self. It challenges us to live fully in the present moment, appreciating the impermanent yet beautiful nature of existence. Understanding rebirth as taught in Buddhism allows us to see life and death as part of a continuous, ever-changing process. It offers a lens through which we can view our experiences with greater clarity and peace, free from the constraints of fixed identities or eternal attachments. In the next section, we'll explore how this concept of rebirth can be applied practically to our daily lives. We'll look at how the teachings of karma and mindfulness can help us navigate challenges, nurture inner peace, and contribute to the well-being of others. Stay tuned. This journey of discovery is just beginning, breaking the chains of samsara, the path to liberation. As we've journeyed through the concepts of rebirth and reincarnation, we've uncovered the profound differences in how these ideas shape our understanding of existence. But understanding rebirth isn't just about clarifying philosophical points. It's also a key to addressing one of life's most pressing questions. How can we escape the cycle of suffering? In this section, we'll explore the nature of samsara, the role of karma in perpetuating it, and the transformative practices that can guide us toward liberation, or nirvana. What is samsara? Samsara is often translated as the cycle of birth and death. In Buddhism, it represents the endless cycle of existence characterized by birth, aging, suffering, and death, only to begin anew. This cycle isn't limited to physical life and death. It encompasses every moment of clinging, craving, and ignorance that binds us to suffering. But what fuels this cycle? The answer lies in the three poisons. 1. Ignorance, moha, a fundamental misunderstanding of reality, particularly the illusion of a permanent self. 2. Craving, tanha, the desire for pleasure, existence, or non-existence. 3. Aversion, dosa, hatred, anger, or resistance to what we dislike. These poisons keep us trapped in samsara, creating the conditions for continued suffering. The role of karma in samsara. Karma, the intentional actions we perform in thought, word, and deed, is both the driver of samsara and the key to breaking free from it. Every action creates a ripple in the web of existence, shaping the conditions for future experiences. However, it's important to note that karma is not a system of punishment or reward. Instead, it's a natural law of cause and effect, much like planting seeds. Positive actions rooted in wisdom and compassion yield wholesome results, while actions driven by greed, hatred, or ignorance lead to suffering. For example, consider someone who habitually lies to protect their ego. Over time, this behavior creates distrust and isolation, perpetuating feelings of fear and insecurity. In contrast, someone who speaks truthfully and acts with kindness fosters trust and harmony, creating conditions for peace. This understanding empowers us. By cultivating mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom, we can plant the seeds for liberation rather than suffering. The goal: liberation from samsara. Liberation, or nirvana, is the ultimate goal in Buddhism. It's not a physical place or state of annihilation, but a profound awakening to the true nature of reality. To attain nirvana is to extinguish the three poisons, ending the cycle of samsara. In nirvana, the clinging to self dissolves, and the mind rests in peace, free from the turbulence of craving and aversion. It's a state of unshakable freedom, where suffering no longer arises. The path to liberation, the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha laid out a clear and practical path to liberation, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is not a linear journey, but an interconnected way of living that cultivates wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. 1. Right view. Understanding reality as it is, including the Four Noble Truths and the nature of impermanence and non-self. 2. Right intention. Cultivating intentions of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. 3. Right speech. Speaking truthfully, kindly, and thoughtfully. 4. Right action. Engaging in ethical behavior, avoiding harm to oneself or others. 5. Right livelihood. Earning a living in ways that align with ethical principles. 6. Right effort. Cultivating wholesome qualities and abandoning unwholesome ones. 7. Right mindfulness. Developing awareness of the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. 8. Right concentration. Focusing the mind through meditation to achieve clarity and insight. Each aspect of this path supports the others, creating a harmonious approach to spiritual growth. Practical steps to begin the journey. You might wonder, how can we apply these teachings in our daily lives? Here are a few practical steps. 1. Cultivate mindfulness. Begin with simple meditation practices, such as focusing on your breath or observing your thoughts without judgment. Mindfulness helps you see the impermanent and interconnected nature of existence. 2. Practice compassion. Look for opportunities to help others, whether through kind words, small acts of generosity, or simply listening with empathy. Compassion reduces the grip of self-centeredness. 3. Reflect on karma. Before acting, pause and consider, will this bring benefit or harm to myself and others? This awareness can guide you toward ethical choices. 4. Embrace impermanence. Instead of resisting change, try to flow with it. Letting go of attachments and expectations can bring a sense of freedom and peace. 5. Study and learn. Explore the teachings of the Buddha through books, talks, or guided courses. Understanding the Dharma deepens your insight and motivation, overcoming challenges along the way. The path to liberation is not without challenges. Old habits and attachments can be difficult to break, and life struggles can test our resolve. But these challenges are not obstacles. They are opportunities to deepen our practice. When faced with difficulties, remember that the Buddha himself faced countless trials on his journey to enlightenment. His perseverance serves as a reminder that liberation is possible for all who seek it with sincerity and dedication. Why liberation matters. Finally, let's reflect on why this journey matters. Liberation is not just about escaping suffering. It's about awakening to a life of profound peace, clarity, and joy. It's about breaking free from the illusions that separate us from others, enabling us to live with greater compassion and wisdom. When we understand that rebirth is not about clinging to a soul, but about transforming the energy of our actions, we see the immense potential within each moment. Every choice becomes a step toward liberation, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. As we conclude this segment, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the journey of liberation. What steps can you take today to move closer to peace and freedom? In the next part, we'll explore practical meditation techniques that can help you cultivate mindfulness and insight, laying the foundation for a life of clarity and compassion. Stay with me, and let's continue this transformative journey together. Transforming understanding into action. Together, we have explored profound perspectives on rebirth and reincarnation from the Buddhist viewpoint. Unlike the traditional notion of an eternal, unchanging soul, Buddhism teaches us that life is an unceasing flow of causes and conditions. From understanding the principle of no-self to the significance of karma, we realize that every action we take creates ripples in the vast ocean of existence. Imagine looking at your life as a river winding through countless bends. The water is never the same, yet the river flows, embodying the vibrant connections of all things. Understanding this, we not only accept change, but also learn to embrace impermanence as an opportunity to live more meaningfully. Small actions, big impact. Don't think that change requires grand, immediate steps. Small actions, when performed with mindfulness and compassion, can make a significant difference. Honest words, kind intentions, and thoughtful deeds. All these are seeds of positive karma that lead us closer to liberation from suffering. I invite you to begin today with the simplest of acts. Spend a few minutes each day practicing meditation, observing your breath, and listening to your emotions. Treat those around you with compassion, regardless of who they are or where they come from. And most importantly, stay persistent on the path of cultivating your mind, for freedom and peace are not distant goals, but treasures within your reach.